Hi everyone. Uh, Happy to be here. My name is Aki from Streamhub, and I think I recognize some of you from the list. So hopefully you guys are good. And for those of you who don't know me, I am the CEO and head of product for Streamhub. So today, I've been asked to sort of think about the coming years for CTV, for the industry. And we have been a very active, let's say, proponent of believing in CTV and its evolution. So, as its name suggests, StreamHub is, a hub of all data streams, and also plays on the fact that it is about streaming. And more, we see the transformation of the world into this area. So today, I'm going to be looking into the Japanese broadcasters, what we do for them, its data, and its collaborative model. And maybe that's a hint for how CTV can sort of evolve in the coming years, using Japan's what they're doing there as some, at least to some degree, some hints. All right, so let's crack on. I'm going to turn myself off so you guys can have a full pleasure of the presentation. And voila, here we go. So a little bit about us, so that there's a bit of background. We've been live since 2015, headquartered in London, and myself and Sam are the sort of co-founders. And we have a global team of OTT, ad tech, and data backgrounds. In the ad tech side, we have Jamie West, which some of you might know, and we have Simon Fell, who's also kind of helping us out in our positioning. So we've been very fortunate over the years to be trusted by global household brands, ranging from Disney and A&E and stuff from in the US American markets, to all the way to the east to Japan, where we are market leaders, being used by all broadcasters and agencies there. So we see the world is full of problems, and we're here to solve them. We call it the Big Data 2.0 era, where each broadcaster can now sort of have basic abilities to manage their data, to play with their data. But the problems, are sort of new problems start to arise. So the very first one, which we have gathered from multiple, sort of customers over the years, has been wasteful metrics. And these could be QoS metrics that go very deep, things that are real time, which are not necessary, sort of very high level, very detailed reports. And we've been guilty over the years for that as well, and been streamlining a lot of the metrics over the time. So there's a lot of wasteful metrics, which results in sort of bad money spent. Siloed and disjointed systems. I think this we're all familiar. So many ad servers, so many SSPs, so many different DSPs, DMPs, etc., different analytics systems. Some are for web, some are for video, etc., etc. So you end up by having many disjointed systems or very siloed proprietary things that by the time it's built, it's too late. Web 3.0 has come along. Time and cost problems with minimal differentiation. So you spend a lot of time building stuff, but at the end of the day, it's actually pretty similar to your competitors. And because it costs a lot of money, it costs a lot of training. By the time all that is done, something new is there. So this is a hint to why in Japan, at least, the industry has sort of come together a bit more in a similar way how Arkiva took over the sort of transmission and broadcast facilities, as that was not a differentiation. And then, of course, there's the problem of data bottlenecks, where data scientists, specialist analysts, people who can play with the tools, get to the insights, but they are the bottlenecks, and therefore, sometimes it takes a lot of time for reports to come up. The daily sort of sales desk person cannot just quickly create a report and do something quick and miss an opportunity. So those kind of things. So how are we approaching this? We are pursuing simplicity. We just believe that there needs to be as much as possible, where possible, to unify a system. And our answer is that let's at least unify the analytics and the targeting parts of this in one solution that's seamless. We tend to believe that there's three areas that can be unified. It's the robust data collection part, which is the SDKs or data lakes access, the analytics and insights part, the part that makes sense out of it all, and the more automated this becomes for machine learning, through just more let's say customer-driven algorithms that we can build quickly, and then of course all that data and insight needs to be targetable. all that data needs to go back into the system and to make money for the OTT service, whether it's by increasing satisfaction of the audiences through better engagement, through better recommendations, or through much more sort of targeted advertisement, which is relevant, a more relevant user experience. So these are the kind of things we have in mind whilst we, or at least has become more apparently as we've worked a lot in the Japanese and other markets in Europe and the US. So simplicity is also in our analytics, where we don't need to go deep, super deep. Everyone has just sort of come back, guys. We don't want to pay a high price. We want just one service that goes for all key analytics. Now, AVOD, SVOD, TVOD Live, it's got to be service agnostic. That's a no-brainer. Of course, all devices. But of course, rather than having 2 or 3 different systems that does just QoS, just does ads, just does live, just does like very deep CRM audience, they just want something that's, even if it's simple, to have all of it in one shop, should we say. Not to say that we are doing this in a very simple way, but we are trying to make it simpler for sure. Then there's of course, part of the activation. So, all that data, that whether it's coming from the broadcaster, whether it's coming from a JIC, can be used in the very same way as DMPs around the world have been working, but, based on third-party data. So the focus here is that let's do everything we can to maximize the value of your first-party data. So it's about deep segmentation, reporting, inventory forecasting, targeting, you name it. And this is just a simple picture of how typical segmentation could look like based on PPID. As cookies and IDFAs and all that's going to go away. So the flow that we've managed to achieve in Japan is very much around this sort of, how do we build audience satisfaction and monetization? How can we get the actions needed for it? How can we get the data manipulated in a way that's useful all the time across all the different teams? So the analytics side of things is about simplicity. One integration for all video metrics, quick and easy reports to democratize the data across the teams and agencies and research companies and whatnot. And then for each broadcaster to be able to go deep into their own data for, editorial sort of user retention, thinking of ways that they can create higher yields and CPMs. And then, of course, for a lot of personalized marketing, win-back campaigns, cancellation, stopping and all those things. So the benefits is that the benefit of all this is that the easier it is to use the data, the bigger the benefits are. And we know this because in Japan we managed to already boost a lot of the CPMs for the broadcasters who use us. The hyper targeting is kind of a daily thing that's happening through the segmentation platform. Really deep stuff, like I want all users who watch the 5 full seasons of Game of Thrones who have not watched season 6 yet, things like that. And then, of course, all that data can be used to rethink the strategies. What kind of content should be cleared? What are the main segments that should be satisfying versus others can be sacrificed, etc., etc. So a lot of good stuff going on. So how do the people use it on a daily basis? So I talked about user friendliness and the fact that it's service agnostic, so ready for any CTV service. So this is the kind of a typical dashboard that has been created for a set of customers, and it can work with AVOD, SVOD Live, RPD, set-top box data, HBBTV data logs, and whatever that might already exist or whatever you want be tracked new. So this was a key thing in Japan because so many different broadcasters already had so many different tags in it. Then of course the ad audit part was super important because at the end of the day, the data that we handle for the JICs and the research companies or even for individual broadcasters is going to be what's used for getting the bills, getting the bills paid. So for us, absolute data cleansing measures, making sure that data is absolutely spot clean, no sort of duplicate or bad entries, and also making sure that those ads are being delivered, in fact, by adding our QoS sort of audit module in it. Then this is a little bit of a glimpse into the segmentation tool, but I think many of you are familiar with sort of first-party DMP, so I won't bore you too much with it, except to say that we try to keep just enough detail for people to be able to make quick decisions to commit to campaigns or to commit to marketing and so forth. Okay, so this is to give you some, just so that we're not talking completely out of our asses, and this is kind of the customer base that we we have around the world. And then onto one of these customers. Actually, in fact, this is a representative customer of all the broadcasters we have in Japan. I just used sort of Portugal's Empresa because they are mirroring exactly what we do for many of the broadcasters in Japan. And this is how we began. It's by providing a full OTT analytics and first-party DMP for some tier 1 broadcasters. A typical setup is that they'd be multi-platform, web, iOS, Android, etc. This is kind of common now. Many of customers in Japan follow a AVOD, SVOD, and live hybrid model from the get-go, and many are very fussy about what kind of custom development they want. But fortunately, being a sort of a global enterprise SaaS platform, many of the things that we develop for a couple of customers becomes globally available to everyone, because like that, we jointly evolve globally as a sort of a broadcaster or OTT-focused platform. Now, the key thing that has been a super helpful thing for our broadcast in Japan and in Europe and elsewhere is that we have, from the get-go, been providing a total solution that is feasible for post-cookie and device ID-less world. So everything is consented user base with PPIDs at the center of everything. So, as cookies disappear this year and device IDs are becoming flakier, PPID for us, we have a very strong infrastructure around that we're providing in Japan. So case study number 2 then is about the actual what's happening as a collaborative platform for the entire industry. So I'm going to go into this now, and just as a sort of a means of background, I wanted to take you through the Japanese media market. So everything is compared to the UK double. So double the people, double the total ad market, double the TV ad market, but not double the web ad market. That is relatively still a nascent market in Japan, which is very exciting for us. The broadcaster numbers, they are actually also about double, with sort of the ITV equivalents being sort of NTV and TBS. Now, on the right side, I have the OTT players, who are the dominant players in OTT. I think this is a very familiar, except maybe that Netflix is not on here in Japan. But YouTube is hugely dominant through their mix of legal and illegal content. Then there's Abema TV, which is sort of a joint venture between sort of a Japanese tech giant and a broadcaster, which is doing relatively well, but it's mainly small short clips. Then of course there's Prime and other guys, and Hulu as well. But in here, the only pure, let's say, BVOD or AVOD sort of platform is TVer. Now, which is in about 4th place, and there's a relatively big gap with the top 3. Now, I want to slightly, by the way, TVer is kind of like a Hulu, which is, but only with AVOD, catch-up service, and this is what I'm going to talk about next. But just bear with me so I can give you a slightly deeper broadcaster-only OTT ecosystem. Okay. So this first group on the left is sort of the B, AVOD, and SVOD guys. So all the own media operated AVOD and SVOD services, there's many. There's a lot more than this, actually, in fact. There's been some move towards consolidation for some SVOD services because they are basically struggling to get any users. And roughly speaking, across everyone, we're looking at about 5 million sort of monthly uniques, which is very small. On the contrary, we have the YouTubes and the Gaos and other guys, and of course Amazon, etc., which gives about 80 million plus active users. And they do a mix of TV content as well as special sort of interest, films, music, etc. And of course, then there's TVer, which as a sort of a standalone entity, which is purely BVOD, is kind of the standout sort of winner amongst the group. And it's up to about 15 million as of last year, so probably going towards 17, 18, 20 million this year, which is a pretty good number. Now, let's take a look at TVer. So a very quick sort of overview of it is that it's a hip new brand. It's the broadcasters who kind of came together and wanted to create a new brand like Netflix, which is cool and hip and more towards sort of the younger and sort of 30s sort of audiences. It's a catch-up service with all the premium TV content available from 7 to 30 days, anytime, anywhere, and it's free. of course, and with very little registration information required. On the monetization side, it's purely ad based with unskippable ads for 90% of it, and some new formats creeping in as well. Now, the three big circles here are key points to how the TVer has been a success in Japan. It's that each channel decides on what content lineup it wants to put into it, and this is based on the data that they receive, through this kind of JIX Streamhub collaboration. And of course, each channel sells their own inventory as well. So imagine, if you're channel number 1 or channel number 2, you'd have different ad servers, slightly different pricing, different types of ad products, but all based out of the data that's coming out of this joint alliance platform. And of course, the big win for agencies is that they can sell the big pool. So not only from TVer, but from all the broadcasters, all the data comes in, and it's a single standard. So that can basically be used for the planning as well as targeting. So the benefits are that there's a huge boost in CPMs. Now in most recent months, I've heard that it's somewhere fetching 25 plus, which is a big step forward, as TV in Japan is $6, as well as at the beginning of TVer's life, it was around that value as well. Much bigger pool to basically compete against the Googles and the Facebooks of Japan. And of course, there's full control and transparency, making it sort of a kind of a clear competing part, which doesn't sort of fall into antitrust laws. There's shared cost, risk and reward, etc., etc. And most importantly, for many broadcasters, that this has become a huge source of first-party data, which is sort of fully consented as well. And it kind of has that premium sort of feel compared to all the YouTubes and Facebooks. Now, what we have enabled is that we've been very fortunate to enter a strong partnership with Japan's JIC, similar to Kantar and Barb. And we have enabled through them so that the Japanese broadcasters can use this currency OTT data beyond measurement and use it for targeting. Roughly about 1 billion video views per month is what we do, processing data every day. 13 broadcasters are using it. 4 different platforms that I mentioned TVer earlier on, but there's these other sort of, let's say, BVOD-friendly platforms, and then 5 major agencies. There are a couple more here, but these are the guys who are commanding 80 to 90% of the revs on OTT. So, this is the only technical slide, I swear, that I will go into, but this is giving you a shared, fully integrated data platform, a view of how this fully integrated and shared platform is created, and how basically from all the data here, we have the analytics part that basically spits out ads and programs data, reports. It fuses to the currency panel of 1 million users, and then all this data goes into the activation first-party DMP, which is used for planning and segmentation. But each of the broadcaster members can then bring their first-party data securely, only for their own viewing and segmentation, into this to enrich their propositions. And the same can be said about second-party data from clients that each broadcaster sales house brings, and so forth. And this data is then, of course, integrated into SpotX, Freewheel, etc. Rather than each broadcaster doing so many different integrations, through Streamhub, they have a single integration for any ad server if they want to switch, overnight or try out different ad servers at any time. And of course, the agency desks also have the information in real time going to them for information. So the result is good. It's a still growing phase. It's still nascent, but overall revenues are up, and of course the CPMs are up as well. So that's been really, really a fortunate thing for for the industry as a whole, and for us, we've been really grateful to be part of it. So that's it in terms of kind of a quick glimpse of how this collaborative platform is working. And I have some questions that I've prepared actually from recent sessions and having chatted to Vincent as well. And these are a couple of things that might be piquing your interest. So what do the privacy laws in Japan look like? And is this model workable in Europe with GDPR? I say, hell yes. Our platform is actually built in the UK, and our first customers were in Europe. So we were very GDPR conscious from the beginning. And of course, Japan is in its course for implementing equally strict, if not more strict, rules than GDPR. So yes, it's fully interchangeable. It can be deployed into any market, and we can tweak any of these privacy related things in our platform. Another question we got was how much more are broadcasters able to charge using this form of targeting? I think in the case study, both the first one and second one, it's all about boosting up the CPMs, improving the yield. So the fact is that it's already got like kind of a huge uplift in the CPMs over the years. So that's a no-brainer. So having gone from $6 to $25, so in a space of about 3 years, has been a good thing. Then the last question we got was, do the market leaders express concern around pooling their data? Yes, certainly. The bigger ones, especially that have invested a lot into user registration, etc., have. But the good thing is that all that first-party data that is brought into the platform is only siloed into their view, and that will never become shareable, unless, of course, that broadcaster expressly says, oh, yes, I want to share it with others. The other part regarding the viewing log data is that whilst everyone can see what the popularity of content and rankings of content of other competitors, when they go and create the segments, they cannot specify any program. So they can only specify genres, which are very large and wide. So I can say, hey, I want users who watch ITV, and if I was Channel 4, I'd be like, I want all users who watch the sports genre on ITV, and on Channel 4, we're watching some other drama. So so all those access management features are in place as well, which has been kind of a very good thing for us. All right, so those are the questions. Any more questions? Please let me know. Thank you.